Howdy, folks. I'm Lithe Blackgum, blatantly blaming bland berries.
I'm Amber.
And here are more bland berries for us to blame everything on. You know, I would say that they had it coming, if you ask me. Let's get started. Alright, folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Leaving My Husband at the Hospital After He Refused to Be in the Delivery Room with Me? This happened 2 months ago, but it still is causing major friction in my family, so I need some outside opinions. I'm a 29-year-old female, and my husband, Jake, from State Farm, is a 32-year-old male, and we have been together for 6 years, married for 3. We were both ecstatic when we found out that we were expecting our first child. Pregnancy was tough on me, though. I had severe morning sickness, gestational diabetes, and generally was miserable. But Jake was supportive and sweet the whole way through, which made it bearable. We got closer to my due date, we discussed birth plans, and I was adamant that I wanted Jake in the delivery room. I needed his support, and he always would agree. However, a few weeks before my due date, Jake started acting strange. He was distant, distracted, and wouldn't engage in baby-related discussions. I thought that he was just anxious about becoming a dad, so I didn't press him too much. Well, the day that I went into labor, Jake drove me down to the hospital, but seemed off. He was quiet and kept checking his phone. When we got there, he pulled the nurse aside and spoke to her privately. She came back and told me that Jake wouldn't be in the delivery room because he was uncomfortable with blood and medical procedures. I was stunned. He never mentioned this before. I begged him to say, I told him that I needed him, but he just kept saying, I can't do this. I was heartbroken and furious, but I didn't have too much time to dwell on it as my contractions were getting stronger. Jake said that he would be in the waiting room and kiss me on the forehead before leaving. I was left alone, crying and feeling utterly abandoned. Labor was long and painful and traumatic. I was alone the entire time, except for the medical staff. When our son was finally born, I was exhausted emotionally and physically. The nurse handed me my son, and all I felt was a deep sadness that Jake wasn't there to share this moment. After I was taken to the recovery room, I asked the nurse to get Jake. She came back and said that he had left the hospital hours ago. I couldn't believe it. I called him repeatedly, but he didn't answer. Finally, I sent him a text saying that I was done and he could find his own way home. I didn't see him until the next day. He showed up at the hospital with flowers and an apology, saying that he had panicked and needed some air. He claimed that he had gone home to shower, change, and fell asleep, which I didn't buy for a second. I told him that I didn't believe him. I was overwhelmed with anger and hurt, and I told him that he had let me down in the worst possible way. He kept apologizing, saying that he knew that he had messed up, and he would do anything to make it right. I didn't want him near me or our son in that moment, so I asked him to leave. He tried to protest, but I told him that I needed time to process everything. He left, and I spent the rest of my hospital stay alone with my baby, trying to grapple with the enormity of what just had happened. Since then, Jake has been trying to make amends. He's been taking parenting classes, attending therapy, and is constantly trying to be present and supportive. But I can't shake the feeling of betrayal. He abandoned me at one of my most vulnerable moments in my life. Every time I look at him, I remember being alone in that delivery room, terrified and in pain, wondering why any person who would promise to be by my side wasn't there. My family is split. Some think that I'm being too hard on Jake, that he made a mistake, and is clearly remorseful. They say that he's a good father and partner otherwise, and that I should focus on moving forward for the sake of our child. Others think that what he did was unforgivable and I should leave him. They believe that I'll never truly trust him again, and that's no foundation for a marriage. I'm torn. I still do love him, and I know that he loves me and our son. But part of me wonders if I'll ever get over this. Was it just a moment of weakness on his part, or a sign of something deeper that I can't overlook? So am I the jerk for leaving him at the hospital and now considering leaving him for good? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. I mean, he left you during a very vulnerable moment. He has shown that you can't count on him when the time comes. And it seems like he was having hesitations beforehand, like the way he got all closed off about baby talk and like the weeks leading up. he needed to sit down and have a conversation with you and explain what he was going through, either so that he could get the support he needed to be reassured and be there for you, or you could come up with an alternate plan to make sure you were supported during the birth.
Yeah.
But instead, he just kept everything to himself until he got to the hospital and then just noped out of there.
Bailed. Hard and fast. I think that Jake has made a horrible mistake. And I think that Jake may have done something that's unforgivable. Just because someone makes a mistake doesn't mean that that it's required for you to forgive them. Now, Jake can take time in therapy to sort out his own feelings, and I think that OP should take some time in therapy to sort out their own feelings. But like Amber said, he had plenty of time to examine these thoughts and feelings and to even talk to OP about them. He promised to be by OP's side and then flaked. And, I know that he was scared, but he had plenty of time to sit and think about this and then eventually, talk to OP about this if he was having second thoughts. But he kind of pushed off the problem until a point where OP wasn't going to be able to talk about it. And he just kind of took the coward's way out, really, is what it seems like. He didn't leave any room for her to object or find any additional help or have any second thoughts about Jake or any kind of thing like that. He just was like, I don't think I can do this. And then when the time came, he didn't. So I think that was the biggest problem here, is that he showed that he's not a trustworthy individual, that he's not going to keep his word. And, I get him being afraid, but think about how afraid OP was too, right?
Right. Well, sometimes if you get to that point, you have to step up. And again, he should have very long time ago talked to her and been like, hey, I don't know if I can do this. Can we maybe, see if there's someone else you'd like to have in the room with you? But when it gets to a certain point in time, I don't know, because I'm someone, I have anxiety. I've had panic attacks, but I tend to know in advance what's going to trigger them, and I plan accordingly. And if I think there's a high likelihood, I will make note of that, He needed a plan. He needed some kind of backup if he didn't think he was going to go through with it.
Yeah. So I think that this is his biggest problem here. And I think that OP, the only person who's going to be able to answer whether or not you can trust him again is yourself. And it doesn't sound like you can.
Well, and that also, because him saying, oh, I'm not good with blood and medical procedures. What if the kid gets injured? Is he going to be able to drive you to the hospital or, drive the kid to the hospital if he's the one watching them? Or if the kid needs surgery, is he going to be like, oh, OP, you're the one who deal with this. I can't deal with hospitals. It does raise some significant questions.
Yeah.
Or if OP is injured in some way, is he going to be able to be there for her and help her? Or is he going to be like, oh, yeah, you just gotta call an Uber to the hospital. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Blair Barbie says, a moment of weakness doesn't define him, but it sure as well will hurt you. If you can't trust him right now, that's valid. He's got work to do, but you don't owe him forgiveness on demand. And Gullible Science 1746 says, unfortunately, this behavior does define him. At least she knows now that she can't count on him when she needs him most. That's a good reason to question this marriage. And OP replies, thank you. And OP replies to the first comment, it wasn't a moment of weakness, and I do not want to wait around and find out what it was. So, I think that's very valid. And it sounds like OP's already made up their mind at this point in time, right? And Devi Moonbeam says, not the jerk, I would never be able to get past this, ever. He's shown you that when push comes to shove, he thinks of only himself, not you and not your child. And OP replies, exactly. Considered leaving us and left and only came back when he felt guilty.
Well, that's another thing, too, is he just took off from the hospital. He didn't even, try and do breathing exercises or something to calm down or just wait it out. He just noped out of there. Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think that can't be understated, right? Because he could have had some moment of redemption if he had stuck around in the hospital and actually been there when OP after the surgery, or after the procedure rather. So I don't know. I think that he just went so far here. There's a lot of comments in here, and OP's just basically like, he's not my life partner anymore.
I mean, that makes sense. It makes sense.
Well, and I mean, I'm not going to get through, read all of these comments, but a matter of factly, OP has made it very clear in these comments that she does not view him as a partner. And so I think at this point in time, she wants to know whether or not she would be wrong for leaving this guy. And no, the answer is no, you would not be wrong for leaving him. If you don't feel like he's your partner, you don't feel like you can rely on somebody, then it's going to be more work to have them in your life than not, right? And maybe there's a small chance that therapy could fix this, but I don't know, when you've had such a breach of trust and when you've had such a betrayal, it's going to be really difficult to mend this. This is kind of on the level of cheating,
Yeah, it's such a huge, like, betrayal of who you thought this person was, It shows a fundamental side of them that OP didn't know existed. And I do hope that therapy and reflection helps him learn to be a better partner, but it doesn't mean he has to be a better partner for OP. Like, OP is well within her right to leave, even if he does improve.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't think that this should, he shouldn't be, condemned forever for this or anything like that. But he does need to learn, he does need to grow, and he does need to work on becoming a better partner, like you said. And that's not OP's responsibility to usher him into that new position in his life, or new person of his life, right? Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Calling BS on My Girlfriend's Refusal to Donate Blood? I am a 28-year-old male and I donate blood 3 to 4 times a year. I just feel that it's important to do, and my dad has gotten blood transfusions before. I've tried to get my girlfriend to donate with me, but she refuses because she says that she's anemic. Twice since we were dating, she would eat less and lose some weight, and her period wouldn't come, which freaked us out because we would wonder if she was pregnant. Then she would take some iron tablets, and a few months later, it would come back. I assumed because of the missed period, what she said was correct, but then she took a routine blood test after not going to the doctors for a few years, and the doc called her to tell her that her blood test was fine and that she had enough red blood cells or something. After I called and I asked her if she wants to donate blood, and she said no because she needs the iron. I got annoyed because the doctor said that it was fine, and she said that her blood test was okay for now because she began taking iron pills every day. I told her just to up the dose of the iron pills and said it's BS that she's making excuses when she's clearly able to donate, and she got mad at me and told me that I have no idea about her body and she gets extremely tired when she lacks iron or has a period. I assumed it's because she misses her pills and it's normal to be tired when having a period, but she tells me just to be quiet whenever I bring it up now. I think that she has another reason or just doesn't want to bother and is using her perceived iron deficiency, which was not found on her blood test, as an excuse. All right, folks, what do you think?
Yes, OP, you're a major jerk. First of all, people have bodily autonomy. She does not need to justify to you why she doesn't want to donate blood. But I think that's a big issue too. But I think in some ways an even bigger issue in this relationship is that he doesn't trust her. He is assuming that because she has an adequate, red blood cell, iron count, whatever, that she is not anemic and she's been misrepresenting her situation. Mm-hmm. And that's not how these things work. People who have anemia, it's not always a constant, too low iron. It fluctuates. Your nutrient levels can fluctuate throughout the month, mm-hmm. And so it could be that during some times while she's taking the iron supplements, she has enough iron, and then during other times of the month, she doesn't. And so it doesn't mean she's been lying or deceiving you or anything like that. And so I think OP is also in the wrong for trying to act like she doesn't have a medical issue because he doesn't, it doesn't fit his narrow idea of what it should look like.
Yeah, so I think that OP left out a few details here. It does sound like she was having, issues probably at the time she got blood work and was told that she was anemic, and that's why she started taking the pills at the suggestion of the doctor. And the doctor is, of course, going to monitor her and make sure that her iron levels are fine. And when you are taking a supplement like iron, it's important to get your blood levels checked pretty regularly because, iron, you do need to make sure that you're not getting too much iron. You also need to make sure that you're, not getting too little iron. So it's a good idea to have blood tests done when you're taking a supplement like that. And I think that OP, it doesn't matter what her reasonings are for wanting to donate blood or not wanting to donate blood. She has said that she doesn't want to do it because she isn't in a place where she feels that she can medically.
Mm-hmm.
Even if she was perfectly healthy, she still has the right to bodily autonomy and should not be forced into giving her blood.
Yeah. Well, to top it off, too, like, as far as we can tell from this post, OP does not seem to have any medical training. So offering unsolicited medical advice, telling her to just take more iron pills, that could actually be harmful to her.
Yeah.
Like, iron is one of those supplements you do have to be careful about how much you take. It can be hard on the body.
Yeah.
And so OP's also the jerk for giving unsolicited medical advice that he's unqualified to give.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. Oh, and folks, let's see what the Wheel of Judgment has to say. Wheel of Judgment, turn, turn, turn. Tell us the judgment that OP's earned. Innocent but annoying. I don't know about that.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree on the annoying half, but I feel like this goes beyond innocent. Like, it's good to donate blood if you're able to, but trying to, like, violate other people's bodily autonomy, and I would not say that's innocent.
The Wheel has a thing against bodily autonomy.
It does.
I think wasn't another bodily autonomy?
I think it was, yeah.
The Wheel
is like, I'm a robot, or like, I'm a fake, I don't have a body, so like, why would I care about bodily autonomy?
Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Inviting My Wife's Sister Over While My Wife is Away for Work? My wife is a travel agent and goes to various resorts around North and South America as part of her job. I will go with her on as many trips as I can, but I am more often unable to because of my own job. So usually for about a week out of every 2 or 3 months, I get the house to myself. We don't have any kids yet, but she plans on changing her work routine before we do. Recently, she found out that I invite people over quite frequently while she's away. I wouldn't have thought that it would bother her. It's usually her sister that ends up coming over, and we just hang out, watch movies, drink, etc. She spends the night a few times, like she has before, while my wife was at home, and we never thought anything of it. But most recently, when my wife got back from her trip, her sister was still at the house. She noticed that she had clearly spent the night and became absolutely furious. We tried explaining to her that it was completely innocent, and I've invited other people over at times. It's not just her sister. She wouldn't listen to reason and is now staying at her parents' place. My sister-in-law agrees that we did nothing wrong. Am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think?
Yes, you're the jerk. Honestly, like, I'm pretty sure that there's something not so innocuous going on here, but even if they're not having intimate relationships, it's generally understood that you do not have, like, sleepovers with people you could be attracted to without your partner's consent.
Well, I mean, I think this is a little bit of a complicated situation, right? Because I do think that, like, there should be trust in a relationship, right? And I think that you can have people of the opposite, gender as friends without being worried about whether or not someone is cheating or not. And I think in that respect, the wife here, it's a difficult read on the situation because maybe she was unprepared for this. Maybe this was something that was, she had some reason for believing that they were closer. Because it's challenging, right? Because, like, if, say, for instance, he and the sister had gotten a little too friendly when she was spending time over at their house, and they had a discussion about this. Now, he has her over and while the wife is away, and now she's upset about that, right? I mean, I think it's a difficult situation to judge. I do.
I don't know. I don't know why he never, like, if it was this innocuous, I don't know why it never came up in conversation.
Well, and that's another thing, right? If he's having people over, why isn't he talking to his wife about it? It's like, oh, yeah, I had your sister over for a couple of days. We just watched some Netflix, right? Why is it that she never came up in the conversation at all?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it seems like he's keeping this away intentionally because when she came back from the trip, presumably, like, they talk about what they did during the time they were apart.
Mm-hmm.
And if he spent the entire time with her sister, he'd be like, oh yeah, me and your sister did X, Y, and Z, which is why I don't buy for a second that he thinks this was just completely harmless.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly think, like, I am leaning on the side that this isn't harmless, especially given, like, that he isn't talking about this, and she doesn't know about the people who are coming over and spending time, right? And again, it seems really odd to me that they wouldn't have talked about this. So I do get the feeling that he is trying to play this off as like, oh, well, look, I'm just being innocent here, right?
Right. And, like, I don't want to say that people who love, like, whatever genders are attracted to each other can't spend time together and not have an affair, because it is possible to do. But I do think the lack of communication is really, like, where the issue lies in this. Like, if he really didn't think it was a big deal, why didn't he tell his wife about this?
Well, that's my hang up here, right? I think that this should have been more open discussion and more disclosure about it. And by the fact that he hasn't disclosed this up until now, it does give it a little bit of a shady view whether or not they were innocent or not, right? And I think that it's going to raise some questions about why didn't you ever mention this happens before?
And how far away does she live that she has to spend the night for this time?
Well, I mean, it might be that they're drinking, right? And if she's staying over because she's been drinking and she's not able to drive home, and he's like, just spend time in the guest room, then, I mean, that would be understandable why she would spend the night, right? So I do think that there could be innocent reasons for them being together. But I think the way that OP has set this up, it doesn't look very good for him. And that's just the reality. And if you hide things behind your partner's back and don't explain to them what's going on, then they're going to think that you're doing something shady. And I mean, it's going to be difficult to convince them otherwise with a mountain of evidence that might suggest the contrary. So it's hard. It's a hard situation. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Fascination Street says, my sister-in-law agrees that we did nothing wrong. And No Neighbor 7611 says, really, you don't understand why your wife might be upset that her sister spends the night while she's gone and you've never mentioned it? Really? And Kepi M says, you're the jerk and this sounds really shady. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
Word of advice. Don't trust atoms. They make up everything.
Atoms do make up everything. And I have Earl Grey. Alright, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy, terrific Tuesday, folks, spelled TWO. I hope your week is so far going well. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance. And please, pretty please, have it on trust in relationships.
Trust is essential to healthy relationships, and once it's gone, it can be really hard, if not impossible, to rebuild.
Yeah. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye!